Okay, so now let's start lighting our scene. Hopefully between clips you stopped and loaded the whole rest of the scene. Practice doing the material, which is important to just set up that, learn how to populate that, do a few tests and all that stuff. If not, you just can load the scene and continue from here. I have no lights at all here, no cameras. I just have all my elements here loaded and laid out in the scene. Just gonna position the camera a little bit here. So lights in Solaris have a really nice way, interactive ways to set your lights or arrange your lights, layer your lights. There's a few different modes that you can position them. And it's actually really fun and interesting. So to start, let's just create a simple light. And this is just going to be a point light by default. I'm going to change this, of course, to a rectangle light because I like rectangle lights. So right now, this light is at the bottom of the scene here, like that, right? So let me move this a little bit just so I have it somewhere. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I don't want it to be that big. Just dragging from the corner there to make it uniformly small. So I'm actually gonna make it even smaller so we can see what is affecting here in the scene. So let's just again go to our quote-unquote camera view here because we haven't set a camera yet, but we have that light there and we can actually work in this. Let's call this our camera view. You can see here when we have this light selected and we are on the handle tool here, you have to have this selected. We have a message down here. It says they have different modes here. The first one is pressing Shift S, which is the specular mode. And that means that if you click somewhere on the scene, the light is gonna position itself to produce a highlight or a specular reflection on that area. You can see if I do it here, I can drag it and you can see I'm positioning the highlight here directly on this pepper there, or this chili here. I can see I can control exactly where I want this specular, and this is amazing because you can actually position your highlight whatever you want it. Like for example, we're gonna add something that is gonna give us some highlight on top of this bottle, and we can just click on it, and we can get it there. We can, if we want a highlight here in this pepper exactly in this area to highlight that edge, you can do that, or click here on this jalapeno there, one of these serranos. If you want to have a highlight in that area, you can just put it there, and it's so amazing because yeah, you can basically control your light by the features or where do you want your light to fall, which is great. If you control drag, you can move the light, the distance from the specular to the light. You can see there's a message there. You can scroll to reduce the increment. By default, it's pretty high. So now you can control drag, and you can see the light is moving closer and farther away. We can also control shift to change the intensity of the light. So you can see you can do this very interactive way of positioning and tweaking your lights. We can even do this. So this is not specific to the OpenGL viewport. You can also do this in Karma. You can see I'm gonna raise the intensity because it's too dark. I'm raising the intensity. I can position the specular wherever I want it. If I wanted one on this pepper right there or on this other pepper over there, you can see I control it. This is a feature of Solaris, so it works on all the delegates. So in RenderMan works as well. So anything that you can support here, it's gonna work. You can see now that is there. I want to highlight over here, I can position it there. I want to highlight over in this pepper over there, I can position it there, and it works. I mean, it's just a matter of the renderer to catch up, but it works in Arnold and Redshifts as well. So that is one of these modes. You can press Shift S to cancel out of that. You can see the one you have active here. It's the specular right now. You can toggle it on and off with Shift S. You can also press Shift D for diffuse. And diffuse means where the light is gonna point, not exactly the the highlight, because the specular, the light can sometimes be positioned in very weird places. But if, for example, if I want my light to come from this direction over to this molcajete, you can see I can put it there and it's gonna point in that direction. So if I want a light exactly on top of this jalapeno, for example, I can just click there and drag and then put a light right there, like pretty quickly. Again, you can change the distance of that just by control dragging left and right, or shift control drag to change the intensity of it. Which, I mean, yeah, this is so great. You can position, let's say I want a light, actually we want a light to be, we're gonna position a light coming from this direction. So sometimes you can see this is not updating, so let's go here and restart the render. Sometimes the render just doesn't update for some reason, it just gets hung up or something. Just go here, if that happens, just go here and restart the render. You can also pause it here if you don't want to be updated a lot, because this could be having a lot of samples to go through. So if you want at some point to just not render because you want to do something else, just go here and pause, or you can resume it or restart it there. You can see again, if you want to position a light, now the intensity is too low, so we can raise the intensity. Let's say that we want a light coming from this side. In this case, this guacamole is our main piece here, our centerpiece. You can raise the intensity, put it a little bit outside of frame, and you can see we will have, let's say, our key frame, a key light, something like this we're going to do. I'm not going to light it yet, but this is something that we are going to use for that. There's also another mode, let me disable that, and there's the shadow mode, which it's a little weird sometimes, but it's supposed to control where you want your shadows to fall, which is in a way the opposite of the diffuse. So if we press Shift F, you can see now we are in shadow mode. You can also see the modes up here at the top here in the top bar there. You can click them there as well if you want to, if you feel more comfortable with that. We are the shadow, and you can see it says that shift click to place the target. So shift click, let's say my shadows, I want my shadows maybe to run in this direction, and then you click somewhere, just a regular click, and you can see it's controlling where the light is coming from. And now I'm controlling the shadow basically. So if I want my shadows to come in this direction, you can see this is basically my pivot, and my shadows are going to be moving around that point. So this is also really cool. So if you know exactly where you want to direct your shadows to from a position, in this case, let's say the center of our scene, we can just click somewhere, shift click in here, will just position sorry, I think I lost my other point there. Position your lights anywhere you want in your scene. You can see, I can say my shadow is coming from that direction. You can see the light is behind us, and it's just doing this really cool way of controlling via the shadow. So if you know exactly what you want, you can get it just by doing this. By using these handles here. You can also see that I can also scale the light here if I'm able to see it in the viewport. You can toggle that on or off with the letter B, and you can just toggle it on and off like that. It's just so nice to set up your lights like this. I like this diffuse mode to just set my light really quickly where I want it, and just continue from there basically. So now that we saw how to do this, we're gonna start lighting our scene. Let me switch back to this context, and I'm going to delete this light. I'm going to create another layer for the lights, and this time we can use maybe a reference. This is another way to merge. This is more a way to merge stuff into a graph. So like we already have a graph here, we can just merge into this graph. Let me just collapse this. This reference, you can see if I get a light, and I need to change this some properties of the reference as well. I want to change this reference type for reference for multi input here, which is this input. I connect that, and you can see now I have a reference with the light below it there. You can see this has behaved, it's complaining that there's no safe path, but we're gonna deal with that in a second. But we have it here in the scene. Again, we do not want it to be there. We want it under the scene. So here in the primitive path, again, we're gonna do the same. We're gonna type / scene like that, and we want to call this lights or lighting, however you want to. I'm gonna leave it lights, and you can see our light is gonna be there. This is gonna be our key light, and we're gonna position that. Again, we still have that issue that there's no safe path for this. So what we're gonna do here is let's create a merge to merge our different lights that we're gonna do here, and we are going to put a config layer here below it, and here's where we're gonna save this, and we're gonna save this complete setup of lights into a specific path. So let's go to our USD folder, assets, and let's go. I just had one there, lights that I was testing with. I'm gonna save over that. And also, just to make sure that whatever I have here, I just have as one single file. I don't want a reference for this or something like that. Basically, I want everything to be contained in this USD file. I'm gonna change this flatten input to flatten input stage. So basically means everything above here is gonna become part of this USD. It's gonna be basically embedded on it. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna go here, and you can see now it's fine. So now I'm gonna position my key light by selecting it, changing this to rectangle, of course. Actually, no, I want this to be a disk light. I want it to be a disk light, and I actually want it to be a little bit small. I don't want it to be that big, because I want this really focused kind of light on this coming from this area. So my idea is doing some this kind of a dark, smooth shadow photography. So the light is gonna come from this direction. All this area is gonna be mostly in shadow, not completely in shadow, but my main light is gonna come from here. I am gonna have another top light here that just illuminates basically the top of this glass over here to give it a little bit more light. And I'm going to also have a dome light just to feel a little bit of the shadows, and another auxiliary light to just point to this guacamole to give it a little bit more, raise it a little bit more, lift it off the image a little bit more, and make it more the center of attention. So that's my plan. So it's good to have a good plan that you are doing for your lighting. So let's start executing that. So I have my light here. I want to be, let's start with that radius of 0.5. So I'm gonna start with this diffuse mode here, which you enable again by pressing Shift D. And let's just click here where we want our light to come from. Like I want my light to come from this direction. That's pretty good. Let me just put it closer, and let me, that distance is, let me just reduce the increment. The increment is really big by default. The distance, I want the distance to be really close. It's almost gonna be kind of a little bit off frame a little bit, but I want this to be way smaller. It's pretty big. I want something maybe a little bit bigger than that. Kind of simulating like a box light, a soft light, sorry, that is on the side here. And they want something kind of like this. Let's go to Karma and see, get a better idea. So I can see we need more intensity. Sadly, this intensity actually changes the intensity, and that's not what I want or what I like. I like to work with the exposure, but we're gonna change that in a second. So I'm gonna just live with that for a second here, just to position my light, get it where I want it to be. I want it to be kind of like this. I want it to be closer to the table here. So I'm just clicking and trying to get it there. I think that's gonna be good. Also, of course, you're not married to use this setup. You can just go out of here and move your light exactly where you want it. I do want it to be lighting the table a lot here. I want like a really hard shadow there, but maybe I don't want it to be exactly touching the table. I can make it a little bit lower. I do want like a really defined light here at the beginning, and then just go over in this direction, maybe a little bit more like this, something like that. But you can see that gave us a really good idea of where to put our light, and then we just tweaked it a little bit more. So let's go back to what is a quote unquote our camera, and this is I think our key light's gonna be good in that position. Of course, I'm just making this really quickly. In reality, I will spend a lot more time just tweaking this light and placing it where I want it, but I think it's good. We have a nice highlight here on these peppers. I got a good highlight here. I can get on the cactus as well. The topos are good. It's giving me really nice light and shadow area with this molcajete with guacamole. So I like it. It's good. Let's give it a try there. So a second light when in position, I can actually just copy this one to make it. I'm gonna call this top light, but you can call it ring light or bottle light or something like that. And this light is gonna be lighting this area here of the glass, because this is a really nice glass here. We have some Solaris tequila there exclusively. So I want to give this a little bit more life. This is on shadow, so that's why I'm not just sticking to that kind of shadow photography kind of mood a little bit, because I want to light this tequila a little bit more. So I switch to the specular mode here. I'm gonna click here, and that's exactly what I want. Look at that. I just want to highlight this, and that just gives this bottle a lot of life. You can see it just completely lives. Like I just placed that light so quickly. I do want this to be a rectangle light, and of course that's pretty big. So let me just make it smaller in both axes. That is too small. So now again, we're not married to this mode. We're just positioning it there. So I actually want it to be a little bit wider, so it covers both sides of that tequila. You can see the light is not exactly on top. It is what it should be to reflect on that bottle given our camera. So it's really important to have our camera. I haven't defined the camera yet here, but we will define a camera which is going to be really close to what we have right now here. So yes, I like this a lot. I like the intensity. I like it. Again, I will reset and redo these intensities in a little bit, because I don't want to use this intensity value. I like to use the exposure, but for now I think it's good. I can also maybe change the color, temperature, etc., but I'm gonna leave that because we're gonna use something really cool in Solaris, which is called the light mixer, to do this kind of tweaks there. Yeah, so if you want to, you can change your light here. You can say I can make this light a little bit cooler or warmer. There you can see I have a kind of a warm light there. I kind of like that actually. I'm gonna you know what, I'm gonna leave it. There's different ways to do this. For now, we can do that. We can also make this light the temperature just cooler if you want to, but I'm thinking that this would be kind of like a window, so this should be actually a warmer light as well. Again, depends on what you are going for. I want to kind of fake a little bit of a window kind of thing here, so I can put the warm on that light a little bit. And maybe if you want to play the orange and blue game, you can do that. So yeah, let's do that for now. So that's what I want to do there. The other thing I want to add here, let me add a little bit more space here, because space in Houdini is free. It's totally free. I'm gonna add more space here for me. So I'm gonna add a dome light to just feel a little bit of the shadows. I don't know, I feel a little bit uncomfortable sometimes with these really dark areas. I shouldn't be, it's fine. Nobody's gonna die if you have those dark areas, but sometimes I just feel uncomfortable. So I'm just creating this light. Of course, this just looks totally washed out because this is just a white dome all over the scene. We can also disable lights in the viewport by clicking this icon here, so you don't see them. Also cameras, If you don't want to see any geometry, you can toggle that off, but I don't know why you would do that. Maybe because you don't want to render. I don't know. So yeah, you can also say wireframe rendering or solid box, which seems like it's not really doing anything. You can also set some other settings here, which I really haven't used much. So there we go. So now the dome light, of course, is too intense. We want to change the properties. We don't need to change any of the transformation. The light just affects everywhere, right? So we're gonna change the properties here. We have a texture for this on the hip texture folder. There is an HDR image that you can use for this, and it's this studio small image. This image is not gonna be the main thing on this. You can see now we are using that. We can turn off these lights if you want to see exactly the effect. You can see this is a really light image. I mean, there's a lot of light contributing in this image. I do not want to have all that light from that image here. So I am going to reduce the intensity a lot for this image. For this base, maybe we're gonna do something like this. So the reason for this is just, as I said, fill in a little bit of those dark areas, lifting them a little bit, but just that. It's not going to be any main feature of the image. So if we turn everything off again, everything on again, you can start comparing what you have with this really nice feature here. You can click this button, hold it, and then click send to template. So that basically is going to take a snapshot of this and send it to the template window. Takes a little bit of time to open the template window. Here it is. You can see I have it here. Now I can see if I disable this light, I can send another one to template and see the difference to compare what I'm doing here. You can see it's pretty simple to just see. Okay, so I can see this light is still adding a lot of light. I don't want it to add that much light on this image, really. I just want it to fill a little bit, but I do like that it fills a little bit on this side of the bottle, adds a little bit here. And I also like this light that is giving me a little rim on this corn there, which is really nice. This elote, of course, I should say. There's a little bit of areas that is giving me from that environment light, which is, it's good. It's just, I like to put always an environment light on my scenes, because just kind of fills the gap that sometimes we have on scenes that relatively, I mean, actually space in a 3D scene is basically empty, and there's always a lot of black that is reflected, and that's horrible, specifically for glass, which we have glass here in the scene. So that will be just horrible for our scene, just having areas of black, because it will be reflecting all over the glass. Sometimes it's nice to have areas of black because the glass also benefits from that. But if we have everything black, it's just bad. So you kind of filling that in, it helps a little bit. So again, we're gonna do that. The other light, I'm gonna enable this and put the intensity a little bit lower to 0.01. So yeah. And the other light I'm gonna do is actually, I'm gonna copy this key light actually. This is gonna be like a focus light, guac light. I'm gonna call it guac light, which is gonna be for the guacamole here on the center here. So this light is gonna be here. So I'm gonna use again the diffuse mode to place it. I'm gonna click here. You can see now that light it's coming from above there. Looks pretty big. So let's reduce the radius a lot here. 0.1, 0.05. So there's another feature we can use for this. Seems like it doesn't work that great with Redshift, but we can actually, let's disable this light to see exactly what's happening with it. You can see there's a lot of light happening from this light. Let's just make it to go closer. Actually, I don't want this light to be coming from the front. Mostly I want it to be coming from the other side, or maybe from above exactly. So you can see just clicking here, since the guac is in the guacamole, it's a little bit there's has a lot of peaks and valleys. I can't really position it correctly, so I'm gonna have to just move this manually, of course, and just put it on top of it. Again, you can use from this menu, you can look through that Guac light here, click on it, and now you can lock this and just move your viewport as you do, and just position it. Oh, I think I lost it. Wherever you want here. Damn it, that was weird. Not sure why this is moving so bad right now. So let me get out of this, because that didn't work as well as I was expecting. Let's go back to OpenGL. Sometimes some of these renderers or these delegates update a little bit weird, so sometimes I just switch to the Houdini GL, and it's a little bit better with that one. But this case seems like we just flipped the camera for some reason. So this light is on top here. That's exactly what I want. I'm gonna switch to Karma again. I don't know what I did here. Seems like I rotated the light completely. Don't want to do that. I want my light to be. I change. Seems like I added this adjust light thing here. I'm going to delete that because I don't want that. I only want to edit this light here. So let me focus on that light, and let me turn on everything because I'm a little bit lost there. All right, so this light is there, and I have this intensity there. This light is behaving a little bit weird. Let me change this to rectangle. Seems like it's the other way around. That's why. Change this to disk again. So I want something that is just illuminating from the top of this area. The feature that I was going to mention is this: in this shaping area, you can make like kind of like a spotlight, similar to that spread in Arnold. You can mimic that with this here. You can see if we reduce the angle, we can have something like that, and that's exactly what I want. Actually, I don't want it to be that directly from the top. Let me just move it a little bit like this, so it kind of feels like it's coming from the same direction of the other light, but it's just a little extra light on top of that. So let's switch to our fake camera view, or our what is supposed to be our camera. We turn on all the other lights, and let me restart the render. So we have something like this. So now you can see the light is there. It's on top of this guacamole. We can go and play with the settings, so you can actually see that it is there. You can see if I raise the intensity a lot, you can see it's adding that there. I don't want it to be that intense, so I'm gonna just lower the exposure. But it is pointing there in that direction, in the place that I want. So, okay, so now that we have our lights here, we're gonna use a really nice feature here in Solaris, which is called Light Mixer. So let's click here and search for the Light Mixer, and we have the Light Mixer there. For this to work, I found that using this reference is not the best way for this, so I'm gonna change it to a sub-layer as well, and change this to sub-layer inputs and connect this to this sub-layer. So we're not gonna use this reference there. So we have this sub-layer, and this lights. I will just make sure that I add this scene path to those. So here they are being plugged into the scene here, right? So now that we have this light mixer there, let me clear this. We have this light mixer, and we change this to the sub layer, make this the display view. And here in the light mixer, you can have your lights you have here your lights on the left, and you can just select them and drag them here, and now you have this kind of really nice interface for controlling your lights. You can toggle this off if you want to save some space there. You have your sliders there. This kind of, if you have played before, we kind of like a mixer, a console mixer, or audio mixer. This is kind of similar. So you can disable lights here. You can see I want to disable. Let me just restart this rendering. I can disable lights here. Let's disable this key light. You can see I have disabled this key light. I can enable everything, and with this star I can solo a light. You can see this is the backlight that I have there. I can solo this key light. I can solo the Guacamole Light there, and it's just really amazing way to work with this. You can change the slider here. You have the exposure on this side, and you can see there's the f-stops, and you have the intensity on this side, on this left side. You can also change the range of the sliders with these buttons here. If you want more range on these sliders or less, you can also go to the sheet and change numerically here to see exactly what you have. You can see these values. You can see this has a little red dot. This means I changed that value, and if I can revert to defaults. So basically, these values are the defaults come from whatever you have set up here. So if you have values here, these values basically in the light mixer are going to be multiplied by those. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to change my intensity here, for example, to 1, because I don't want to play with the intensity here. I want to use the exposure. So again, for this one, I'm just going to put this to 1, and the dome light, the intensity, it doesn't actually, let's just leave the intensity for the dome light because it's pretty low. And for this Wack light, also gonna do that. So now let's go to the light mixer here, and it's not showing me my lights here. That might be a bug. So let's just go here to this little dot with this little one, and clear all the viewport overrides, which is gonna bring my lights defaults here in the scene. But for some reason, still not showing me my lights here, which is weird. So let's delete this light mixer and create a new one. Let's create a light mixer here, and I'm gonna put this light mixer here, drag my lights there, and I'm gonna start doing the now we have my intensities on 1, should be, yes, intensity is all 1, and now I'm gonna just play with the exposure to control actually tweak the lights here and do what I want to do with my lights, have them. So let's start with our key light. We can also rearrange these lights. Here you can see I can move this. I can have my dome light, let's say, all the way over here. My key light, my top light, may in order on importance maybe. So I'm gonna start raising the key light here. I'm gonna restart this render. So I can see the key light, it's having the intensity, the exposure is being raised. I think the intensity might need to be a little bit higher. So let's put the max slider to about 10, and I can have more range here. I want something a little bit around 4 maybe. You can't really add a value here. You can just click to do that. But if you want to add exact value, you can go and type it here if that's what you want. You can also change the color over here. I want that's the value I want for my key light. Let's go to the top light now, and also I want this to be a little bit more defined, maybe around 1 or 2 stops there, maybe 2 stops. There we go. I don't want to have too much here because I don't want this light to be light in this area too much. I could also make this light smaller or add some kind of shadow area to cover this area, but I'm gonna be fine for that with this for now. Now the Guacamole Light, which is this one here, this guy, I want it to be just a touch. It's not gonna be nothing super extreme. Just something that just gives me a little bit extra light there. Just a little bit of light here in the middle. Maybe 1 stop will be more than enough. I think that's good. I can feel it there. You can see if you want to compare this again, you can send this to mplay. and I have M-Play here open on the side, and you can that's with my light on. I can leave this always on top. I can disable this Guac light and send that to M-Play again and see the difference here, and just toggle this back and forth to see the difference. You can see it's just giving me a little bit extra there. I might want a little bit extra still, so let's just give it a little bit extra push there, like 2. Let's enable it because I had it disabled. We can also just go here and exaggerate it to see what it is that we're doing. You can see now I'm burning a lot here in the topo, so I don't want to do that. I'm gonna maybe go around 2 or 2.5 is gonna be enough. It's just an extra layer of light there, not too much. But now the dome light, I think I have it how I like it for now. This is gonna be, I think, enough for filling that area. If I disable this, you can see I'm just filling these dark areas a little bit there, just getting rid of those super harsh shadows there. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for that. Again, my camera is not set correctly. I can see part of the set there. I was outside of the set there, so we're gonna set our camera a little bit different for this, but we can check on the other renderers. Let's save our work, of course. I can check with RenderMan, check with Arnold, and check that everything is working. In terms of lights, you can see this light is visible here for Arnold, so maybe we can go, that is the top light here, so we can select it and go to Arnold and see if Arnold has a way to hide the light. I don't remember exactly. Sorry, actually I'm looking in the wrong section because this is actually a RenderMan. So let's go to the RenderMan section and see if we have a way to hide our light here, which is this one, this top light. It's simply like it is here. So if you don't find some of that properties here in the light, it might be on the geometry settings here. If you create this render geometry settings node, let's change this visibility over here. You can actually set some other settings that you're used to in the renders here. Let's go to the RenderMan, and we have this camera visibility here. Set it to nothing, and that light is gone. So great, now we have an override specifically for RenderMan there. In Karma, that is off by default, so no need to worry about that. In Arnold, let's see how that looks. So yeah, that's another way. If you don't find some of these properties that you're used to setting on your objects or on your render, they might be on the render geometry settings here. For example, in RenderMan, I had to enable more passes for ray tracing here. For example, in this glass also for Arnold, we need more depth passes. This we're gonna solve in the actual final render, but in this case our light is fine, so I'm not gonna worry about this right now. Let's go Redshift and see that everything is working there as well. All right, in Redshift you can see the light that we have here for this Guacamole is not working. Seems like the properties here for this shaping are not supported by Redshift, I guess. So in Redshift, let's just maybe hide that light or just override it in a way, or maybe we're just gonna disable that light for Redshift in a way. This other light that is in the back here in the top, we also need to set an override for Redshift. Let's select that light, go to Redshift, and let's toggle off that visibility. So yeah, maybe those settings are not supported by Redshift, but for now we're just not gonna worry about that. We can just hide it if we're gonna be using this Redshift, or just not use that parameter to make the light focus like that for Redshift. All right, let's switch on to Karma and see what we did. Okay, it seems like everything's working. The glass is looking pretty cool. The lighting is looking pretty nice. So yeah, I think we are good with lighting now, and we are ready for setting some rendering.